Oh, g'day guys, my name's Lachlan from Sydney. This is my 2018 Ford Mustang GT 5-litre Coyote. Since I put the ESS Supercharger in, I've obviously done a few extra mods. But today I'm specifically talking about the Aussie version of installing the G3 ESS Supercharger. So in this video it's going to be pretty long, comprehensive. If there's any parts in the video which are not relevant to you, you can always fast forward. But I just want to cover different things in the video which often aren't talked about in other videos where you get little bits and pieces. But this video I'm just going to make it so there's a lot of information. It's going to help a lot of Aussie guys installing ESS Supercharger. So I'm going to talk about the ESS and the install, the Coyote 5-litre motor and 10 R80 transmission limitations, what the oil pump gears and challenges, recommended tuner and tuning process, catch can information, high flow cats, dangers with that, mention Longtube Headers and extractors, diff ratio and Uniglide, an additive. So as an introduction, I've had this my Mustang for about 3 years now. It's modified inside and out. When I got it, it was dead stock. Got a guy from in Bondi. And I take it roll racing, quarter mile drags and local car shows and cruises. And during this time, while I've taken it and popped the bonnet, especially in car shows, I've had a lot of interest in the ESS Supercharger. First thing they say when they see it, they think, oh, nice turbo. But they don't realise it's a centrifugal ESS Supercharger. And so due to other people asking about it, I thought at my brother's suggestion, I'll do a video on it. So firstly, I just want to recommend 3 things you do to your car or Mustang before you put your ESS Supercharger in it. So the first thing I highly recommend is a BMR cradle bushing lockout kit, or it's called Stop the Hop kit. So that when I put that in my Mustang, it made an immediate difference. It stopped it flipping out on the side and became much more controllable when I put my foot down. Yeah, so you see a lot of Mustang videos where they flip out. So Stop the Hop kit, this cradle bushing kit stops that from happening. Yeah, so it locks the subframe and the frame together and also the bushing as well. So it locks it in, it's much more stable. So second point for the 3 things I recommend for putting in your Mustang before you put the supercharger in is the second one is a good set of headers or extractors, because you want maximum exhaust flow flowing out, because the stock exhaust or manifold in the Mustangs, the end of it, it's got a right angle bend. It's very, very restrictive. So with a supercharger blowing heaps of exhaust gases, you want a really good flow. So that's my suggestion, number 2. Number 3, highly recommend is oil pump gears before the installation, or OPGs. You don't want to risk it for the biscuit. You don't want to risk, hey, I might blow up my engine. If the oil pump goes, I'm gonna wreck my engine. It's not worth the risk. Yeah, okay, so as I said before, the main reason for this video was because of all the interest of the ESS Supercharger. And interestingly, this was installed in January 2024. So at that time, I was one of the first Mustangs with the ESS Supercharger. Lund made me aware of a couple in the States, in different states of Australia. Yeah, so I just wanted to share this information to the Mustang guys. A bit of a disclaimer here. The first thing I want to say is I'm no expert or mechanic, but one thing I can say, I've done heaps and heaps of research, watched heaps of videos, talked to experts, emailed them back and forward over the last 3 years. So, and by the way, another thing I want to say, anything I talk about in this video, I'm not sponsored by anyone. So it's just information I just want to share. So right at the beginning, I got my Mustang, it was dead stock. And then I started getting to roll racing, race for real drag racing, a Sydney dragway. And as soon as I started doing that, my car felt really slow, because you're racing pretty quick cars in Sydney. So that's when I thought, it's time for an upgrade. So to cut a long story short, while I was looking at different mods for my car, I was chatting with Lund Racing, Alex Flores, who's a funny guy. I call him the Aussie American, but funny guy. Anyway, I started chatting with Alex at Lund, and I was thinking of putting cams and nitrous in the car, and he suggested, why don't you put in an ESS Supercharger? So I'm going back 2 years ago when there wasn't any around in Mustangs, and I thought, what's an ESS Supercharger? So I got on YouTube and started Googling and watching videos. I thought, wow, they're pretty good. In America, they're all over it. There's heaps of Mustangs with running the ESS Superchargers. So I did my research and I thought about forced induction. Forced induction is excellent for your car. It's better than nitrous, more stable than nitrous. So yeah, so I then actually started speaking with Brevin at ESS, and I told him my mods. So before you order your kit from ESS in the States, you have to write all your mods down, whether you're on 98 or E85, etc., etc. So my car at that time was dead stock, and we decided to put in the supercharger. During the install, we put in the oil pump gears as well, and already had coilover kit on it and the brakes done as well. So what Brevin at ESS recommended was the G3 supercharger. GT500 injectors on the website is 2020 and above. G4 intercooler, that's right at the front here. That's 30% bigger than the G3, so that's a G4 intercooler. DX400 Deutschwerks fuel pump, which in the website it says 415, same thing. 120 millimeter pulley, which is 8 psi. One thing you think about and ESS warn you about, these are high compression engines. You don't want too much psi. Every bit of psi increase is more strain on your engine. Yeah, so I'm talking about 98. In America it's E93, I think, but 98 in Australia. Also put in the teal Q50 blow-off valve, which sounds awesome. And at the recommendation of my brother, put in the loud gears rather than the quiet gears. So roughly the price, it's gone up a couple of grand, but the price in US dollars, in Australian dollars, sorry, is seven and a half grand roughly, plus freight, $500, 5% customs, $600. So all up around 8.5 grand with all that added up. So in a total amount, it adds up to about 13 grand from the States, Australian dollar, shipped to your door. You think that 13 grand's a bit of money, but you can be spending roughly 30 to 40 grand on a Roush or a Whipple supercharger. So these are pretty safe for your car. So you've probably heard of other supercharger centrifugal brands like ProCharger, Vortec, or Paxton. But ESS is the one I put in, which I can only speak about my own experience. So just a little bit about ESS. They've been on the scene for about 30 years. They've been extensively put in BMWs over the years, for years. Yeah, so with the ESS Supercharger, you can get them in the G2, G3, G3X, G3R, or G4, sorry, G4. Obviously you want to check with Brevin and ESS which one you get. He recommended for me the G3 on a stock engine. If you've got a built engine, you can go up higher and you can change your pulley sizes. So as I said before, my pulley is 120 millimeter pulley, and that gives me 8 psi roughly. It also comes, so with my ESS Supercharger for drag racing, I normally have the mesh filter on it, but you run the other filter which goes onto that, and the pod filter goes right down into behind your lights and into your guard, so that way there's less chance of anything going in through here. Personally, I found the ESS Supercharger to be excellent. It's pretty much drives like a stock car. If you want to go shopping to Woolies, you can take it to Woolies and just cruise around. But if you want to give it to it, it just certainly takes off. And that's the big difference. So if you give it to it, you want to make sure you're on a straight road. and there's no cars around because it just takes off. It's different. It's a different animal with the supercharger. Yeah, so the installation time to put this kit in is around 6 to 8 hours on the website. I reckon it's better to probably allow roughly a day. So the tools you need, the guards, you need to take the guards off, and it's just a couple of, the front part comes off, it's just a couple of bolts either side, and then you'll have to take off the front bar as well, which sort of comes off as a whole piece. Then you can put your intercooler in, but also you can put all the parts in. All the ESS parts here are really excellent quality. You can't complain with the quality, and the pipes and everything, it's excellent. Yeah, this kit, by the way, only weighs 19 kilograms, and it's good that it's set away from the engine so you get less heat soak, which is good where the Whipple or the other superchargers are generally on top. So this one sits away and just runs off your belt down the bottom. Yeah. So once you've got it installed and tuned, it's a different animal. Yeah. So the stock 5-litre Coyote Gen 3 can handle roughly about 1,000 wheel horsepower. The 10R80 gearbox, the auto, which I've got in this, can handle roughly up to 800 real wheel horsepower. Don't quote me on this. There are other engines, other gearboxes and other Coyote engines which run more horsepower, but I think that's a safe level. You can check, please investigate, do your own research on those numbers. There's other people who put way more horsepower in the transmission or motor and it's handled it, but I think 1,000 a stock engine and 800 on the gearbox, you're fairly safe, I think. So if you put this ESS Supercharger in your stock Mustang, you won't need to upgrade your gearbox or your engine. It just goes straight on. You won't need to upgrade your axles because axles will take it as well. So you can just put it straight in and ready to go. So G3 for me was really good. The advantages on the G3, which I touched before, was the cost for horsepower compared to 30-40 grand. Ease of installation, ease of changing the pulleys or the belt, different belt sizes you can order on the ESS website. Again, they're not paying me to do this. The weight of the unit, the heat soak, the quality of the components, and it's got such excellent torque and horsepower. The torque curve on the dyno and the horsepower curve is side by side. It's excellent. It just launches as soon as you put your foot down. It launches. So it's a stable application, providing you also get a right tune for the car. And as I said, I went with Lund. The next thing I want to touch on is the oil pump gears, or OPGs. I highly recommend Boundary oil pump gears. You can get other brands on the market, but Boundary to me are the best from my research. You definitely want to go with Boundary. You've probably seen videos of the cast oil pump gears where they throw them in the air, they hit the ground and break because they're not that strong. So if you're going to put a extra boost, extra power in your Mustang, you don't want a weak point like your oil pump gears. So I highly recommend you put them in by the Boundary ones. On their website, this is what Boundary say. They can handle over 2,000 wheel horsepower and up to 9,000 RPM. So they're good quality. They're actually made in over in America. So it's just a safeguard, like you insure your car. You want to also insure your engine. Saying if you hit the rev lever, which I've done, or you've revved it and you held your revs, that's where you can possibly break your oil pump gear, so it's not worth the risk. Also, you got more power in your engine now with the G3, or whatever you put in, so it's not worth the risk. For me, personally, we put them in ourselves, but I'll just say right now, it was a freaking nightmare. It was terrible. It took us roughly 2 days to put the oil pump gears in. The reason being was we didn't have a hoist. We had to jack it up, and I had 3 mechanic friends helping me. The thing is with the, which I don't say this in the American videos, with the Australian Mustang, it's right-hand drive. So your sump is just above the steering pump. So you've got like hardly any room to get to those bolts. So we had to weld sockets, look for sockets, try and get in. I actually had to drill holes through my subframe in there to get an extension up to get to those sump bolts. It was just such a challenge, man. So I highly recommend you get a mechanic to put those in for you. They can put it up on a hoist. They got specialist tools, and they'll do a proper job. With the ESS Supercharger, man, I recommend that you put in yourself. It's not that hard. If you're good with mechanical stuff, by the way, I put in Stop the Hop kit in myself. It was not hard. The Supercharger is not hard to put in. You need probably a whole day to put it in. What I would recommend too, when you do your oil pump gears, you need a GT 150 harmonic balancer puller. I got this from Repco. Again, it's a GGT-150. I tried other harmonic balancer pullers. They don't work. You can't actually get in that tight space. You need that proper model. So when if you do an installation yourself with oil pump gears, my recommendation again is you triple check everything. What happened was, I realized at the last minute I need the oil pump gears. I ended up ordering them from a supplier in South Australia. I won't mention their name, but the oil pump sprocket went on the chain well, and it was down low. I couldn't see it, so we thought the oil pump sprocket was fine. Actually, when it damaged my engine, teeth on one side were good, the other side were machined incorrectly. So what happened was, after 4 months of driving, my timing chain broke, and it did damage in my heads and valves and all that stuff. So yeah, again, check your sprocket, check everything, triple, everything's good if you're going to do the oil pump gears yourself. A good mechanic will do that anyway. Yeah, during the install, I found that this hose was actually 3 inches short. So what I had to go to was a steel shop, get a 100mm roughly diameter hose, steel pipe, spray it black, and put it in to join the two hoses together. I emailed Brevin at ESS, and he said that's unusual because all the Mustangs in the US and all the Mustangs in Europe, he never had that problem. He said, send me some photos. So I sent him some photos, and so I don't know if it's going to happen to other Australian Mustang users, but I wanted you to be aware of that. Yeah, so when we put the ESS Supercharger in, what wasn't on the video or in the instruction sheet was these bars here. So they actually, when you take the front off, and you'll see the bars that run right next to the pipe. So when you put your pipe through, these actually hinder the pipes. They actually squeeze your pipes together. So the best thing is, as when I emailed Brevin afterwards at ESS, he said, yeah, take them out, because they'll restrict the pipe or the flow of your pipe. So they need to be taken out when you do your install. Yeah, this is the harmonic balance puller that I got. That's the part number there. Yeah, it's compact, it's easy to use. You get the right part, it helps a lot. Yeah, okay, the next part of the video, I'm talking about the tune. So for me personally, I did some research. I looked at a lot of tuners around Sydney region, and when I spoke to performance shops, a few of them said, if you want the best tune for your Mustang, you better to go to Lund. In regards to some of my research, Alex, he's been doing tunes for like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 5 years. So that's pretty much all he does. He also, I think, teaches on how to tune the cars. So he knows what he's doing. Also, the other tuners in Lund know what they're doing as well. For me, I dealt with Alex, and I found him to be excellent. Sometimes you ask dumb questions, and he's happy to answer your dumb questions, and that's okay. Okay, with a tune, first thing you'll need to do is to buy your tune. Personally, I got it from Lund Racing. It's about $500 Australian. You got YouTube videos and stuff on their site. You get more information as much as you want. The other option is if you went to a performance shop in Sydney, you'll get that price plus another $1 or $2 on top. So my recommendation is go direct to Lund on their website. So now I'm going to go into some tuning information, which is, you can skip on this video whenever you want, but this is really relevant and I think it's really important that I go through these points. On the website, Lund says tuning revisions for minor modifications are free up to 6 months after you've received your initial tune. After that period runs out, you may want additional support. For me personally, I got a yearly subscription because I've had quite a few tunes on this car, and later on I might be looking at E85, so I definitely need a tune if I switch to E85. Yeah, so when you need your tune, you need to get an RTD device. I got mine in Victoria. This plugs into your OBD. So your OBD is just here. For me personally, I just put a lock on it. So I bought the lock from overseas, so no one can plug into my OBD. So it's it costs around $500 for this, but you need it. With this, you can download all your tunes are downloaded on this device, and it shows up on your phone. Yeah, so when you get your RTD device, which I was just talking about, got it from Victoria, you'll need that. You'll also need to load some credits with HP tuners, about $200–300 worth of credits. So then you need to download the TDN app, which is a remote tuning app, and so Lund Racing then needs to be added to your tune on this app. So when you go on the Lund website, you submit all your details, all your mods and everything. You need the PCM code, tuning device serial number, then you're linked up with Lund for your tunes. So once you're all set up, that means you put your car back together, the ESS Supercharger is all installed, you need a base tune from Lund. So the base tune is to start your car up, your engine up, the initial startup. When you put bigger injectors in and boost, yeah, your tune needs to change. So what happens is, with your RTD device, you plug it into your OBD under your dash there. You'll also need a good phone signal, because when your TDN app is on your phone, it needs a signal so to download the new tune into your car. So make sure that your battery is in excellent condition, fully charged, or it's on trickle. Because while you're downloading your tune, it can take a while, and if your battery's not fully charged, you don't want your car to die halfway through a download of a tune. So once your initial tune, your base tune is downloaded from Lund, they'll give you instructions. So once loaded, your base tune is loaded, you need to follow Lund's instructions. So they'll send you a step-by-step guide on how to proceed. So for example, might get you to just idle your car for 5 minutes, then they'll do part throttle runs to 30 Ks, to 40 Ks, 50 Ks, and so on. While you're doing that, you're doing a log in your, you're recording the log on your device, RTD, and then once you finish that data log, you stop it and you send it back to Lund. So what happens, Lund looks at that tune, they'll readjust it again. So they'll review it. So this will happen 2 to 5 times, back and forwards. You'll start your tune, do your run, send it to Lund, they'll send a revised tune to you, back and forwards. As the revised tunes keep happening, you'll start to go more throttle and through more gears. They're checking drivability, throttle response, AFRs, air fuel ratios, idles, etc. Once Lund see consistent, clean logs, they'll finalise the tune. When they finalise the tune, you can go full throttle, you can go for it. But you do not do that until they say you're good to go, your tune's been finalised. With booking your login with Lund, I suggest you do it have a local dyno, because if you do it on the street, you can quickly be going up to, especially towards the end of your tune, 200 kilometres per hour. So you don't want to be doing that sort of speeds on the street. You best get a local dyno and book in with them. Also, another thing to take into account, Lund is in America. It's not in Australia. So there's a 12-hour time difference. I think they're in Florida. So you can either start your tune around midnight or around 8 in the morning. But you've only got a 2-hour window if you do it at 8 in the morning. You best start your tune about midnight. I know it's a challenge as well, booking a dyno at that time, but it is what it is. So the other thing is with your tune, and some people don't know, when I got my, I had an adjustment with a previous local tuner, they couldn't get the speedo exactly. They were 10 k's out. So the thing is, when you put your mods into Lund and you load them all up, they'll set your speedo spot on. They also set your speedo to your tyre diameter as well. So, and they also set it to your diff ratio as well. So the mistake that I did was I put 4.1 true track diff ratio gears in mine before I put the supercharger in. It's too tall. Roughly it suggests a 3.55 ratio, which is standard in the 10R80 in the Ford Mustangs 18 plus to 23 models. So check that if you like, but yeah, 3.55 is great for ESS Supercharger. So yeah, they do, when you do your Lund tune as well, they also adjust your shifts in your automatic as well. So they adjust your engine and your shifts with the auto as well. The other thing too is that when Lund do your tune, it's not uncommon that your engine light will show up. The reason that engine light shows up because there's 2 oxygen sensors on your exhaust, and Lund, for legal reasons, cannot delete those codes for the emissions laws in America. So then you'll need to see a local tuner to get those codes deleted or taken off. You can also, there's another way around it, which is on the New South Wales S550, S650 Ford Mustang Facebook page. It's actually an article was posted yesterday about that, on how to get around that. So once you join, an added benefit too when you join Lund Racing is that you become part of, I suppose, I call it family. You get access on their Facebook page to races and support. So if you've got technical questions, you can jump on their Facebook page and they'll answer them. My suggestion is though, do your research before you ask them a question, because if it's a dumb question, you'll probably get some slack. The other thing I recommend is with a supercharger, you're getting a lot of exhaust gases pumped through your engine. So I recommend a catch can with a breather. The best thing is a UPR. That's what Lund generally recommend. So with my catch can at the moment, it's just a standard catch can. So until I get the UPR catch can breather, one which is a solid one with a breather filter on top, until I get that, I just put a couple of breathers in myself. So make sure the crankcase gases go out. The other thing is on my hose, on the filter, I blocked it as well so the gases don't recirculate through the engine as well. That little plug I got from Rocket Industries down at Eastern Creek. Yeah, the next point I want to mention is the cats, your high flow cats. My car got the 100 flow, but this is probably not mentioned in a lot of videos, so it's really, really important though, because it could cause you engine damage if you don't fix it prior to putting your supercharger in. So I had a friend of mine, he's got a Whipple supercharger, I think it's a 19 model Mustang. And what happened was part of his internal part of the cat, the honeycomb, started coming apart. Part of it broke off and was sucked in to his cylinder. His mechanic actually, fortunately for him, found it early and got that bit of metal out through the spark plug hole. And with me, when I did my timing chain on my car, when the engine and gearbox was out of my car, the mechanic said, "Have you seen this?" And he showed me my honeycomb inside my cats were delaminating. They actually moved inside. And because what happened, you got so much force, and if that removed or metal removed and went into my engine, it could have caused catastrophic damage. So what we did was we fixed the problem. Now I'll leave it up to you how you fix that problem, but you got to stay within EPA laws, etc., etc. You do your own research on that one. So so before you do your ESS install, address that cat issue. Okay, talk about the diff ratio now. Before I put my supercharger in and trying to get quick times in a quarter mile, I put 4.1 gears as Detroit True Track. which is probably not the right gears, as I mentioned before, for a supercharger, because you want 3.55s or whatever. Also with a 10R80, you got a 10-speed auto, and you got overdrives 8, 9, and 10. So yeah, with the diff ratio, it will change as well if you put bigger tyres on. For me personally, I'm going to put bigger tyres on, and probably I'm going to mention tyres in a sec, better tyres for better grip. The last thing I want to mention is Uniglide, and one last thing I want to mention is Uniglide. Yeah, by the way, Uniglide aren't paying me for this. It's just what we tried and what works. So Uniglide is a friction reducing concentrate for your engine. So I've used this in my engine. My brother has used it in his wife's car. He noticed straight away with his wife's car, the ticking noise went away, and also in cold start, it started up much better. He said to his wife, after installing the Uniglide in the engine, he said to his wife, go take it for a spin, see if it's any different. His wife came back and said, yeah, it feels like it's got more power. So it's very interesting. In the Mustang engines, they're known for that little tick, 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 tick in them. So Uniglide, when it goes on, it actually coats the steel. The only way you can get it off the steel bearings and pistons and all that, you have to machine it off. It sticks that good to the metal. So for your first time you put Uniglide in your engine, Coyote engines have about, I think, 10 litre capacity, so you need 10%, so 1 litre of this for your first oil change. Subsequent oil changes, you only need 5%, so that's 500 mil. I highly recommend you must watch YouTube video where they put this Uniglide to the test. They put the Uniglide in all different oils on it's called a Timken test, Timken tester. So they put weights and increase the weights on this tester on a bearing, and they put extra pressure, and they change all different oils. And then they put the Uniglide on, and they had to stack it up with so much weight before it seized. It's a really interesting video. So if you go on the Uniglide website, they'll have a link to the Timken test. So with the Uniglide, just a little information on it. It adheres to the metal, as I said, reduces friction, wear, drag, and operating temperatures. In other words, to me, it frees up your engine, runs much easier. Reduces oil consumption, oxidation, corrosion, provides maximum compression, power increase, increases your engine life, and cold start protection. So yeah, give it a go, look at the research. Once you put the ESS Supercharger in your car, you're going to have traction issues. It's not a bad problem to have. So for me, the standard tyres wouldn't cut it, so I ended up getting the, forget the writing, I got that before the tyre change. These are Mickey Thompson ETSSs. So I've got the 285s, I think they're by 35s, by R19, 19-inch rims. So they go straight on the Mustang with a bit of a bulge. They look pretty cool 285s. So they gave me extra grip. You need the extra grip when you go roll racing, quarter mile racing. So just to wrap this up with a conclusion, again, I recommend 3 things you get before you put your supercharger in. A BMN cradle bushout lockout kit, a good set of headers, extractors, and oil pump gears. So make sure you put them in before you put your supercharger in. I hope this information has been really helpful. I'd love to see some really fast Mustangs get out there in Australia, do it in the 10s, the 9s, the 8s, or even the 7s. I know the Americans are running those times. If there's any Americans watching, please share your information, share your love. We'd like to learn from you guys. We feel like a bit of amateurs back here, so don't feel shy about sharing information and help us Aussies go faster. I just want to show you one thing to conclude. If you guys are interested, I'm going to do a second video. These are all the parts which have been put in my car. As you can see, that's what's in my car. So I've done a lot of mods since installing the supercharger, and a lot of engine mods, performance mods, etc, etc. So if you're interested, let me know on the video in the comments, and I'll talk about these mods in the next video. I'll just say thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Again, if you've got any comments, please put on the video. I know this was a long video, but I wanted to give you all the information. Please do your own research and check it all out. Thanks again watching our Aussie G3 ESS install information video. Thanks guys. See you, mate.